Today I'm going to show you how we took an old grocery store floor and Landon did a bunch of grinding on it, and then, is that an understatement?
That's an understatement.
It's
like Landon just took a walk, right? We just went out and took a walk.
Landon did a bunch of grinding on it, and then we did a metallic epoxy floor and a stained concrete floor. We're going to show you how that went. They removed all the tile, thankfully. So all you had to do was grind the concrete so that we could do these things.
That's it.
Just that simple.
It's a small problem.
Yeah.
You ready for this?
You mean with all that vac, you still have a pile of dust like that? So the first step in this system, though, is since we're putting something on the concrete that doesn't allow water to come through it. Mm-hmm. This is the old slab. We didn't even moisture test. We're just assuming it has moisture in it.
Yes.
So we're going to put down a moisture vapor barrier epoxy that will lock down any moisture in the concrete. We're going to put metallic powder in our vapor barrier, and that's going to serve as our primer and our base color. And this is going to be 2 shades of blue and white. So we just did like a dark gray metallic in the primer. And that's a pretty simple process. We just put it down 100 square feet a gallon.
So we did that in their conference area,
Mm-hmm.
which was really cool. So it was the main entrance, and then the conference area, which had a glass wall separating it. So we had to make that look essentially like it was flowing into the same room.
That's right.
The glass wall was up already.
That was tricky, though. Yeah, they kind of want it to be, it needs to look the same.
It needs to look the same.
Which is hard to do when you're making like these swirls on the floor. Mm-hmm. But it worked out okay. But they also have 3 other storefronts they're getting us to do. They want it white.
White.
We kind of made a mistake on this one.
Okay, so this is day 2, and floor is not quite white enough. I'll show you.
Right. It was not good at all. And we had never done white metallic epoxy before.
No.
Since then we know it now.
So we put metallic pigment in the primer, and you can kind of see through it. That's some your old urethane cement. And even on the bare concrete, though, it's still transparent.
But this was 3 storefronts. It was like going to be a wedding venue,
bakery,
a bridal shop, a cake shop. So they wanted that white.
They wanted just that pristine white. So
Yeah.
with metallic epoxy, we know that you can see through metallic epoxy to the primer. You can always see a little bit. No matter how solid you think it is, you can always see a little bit. Mm-hmm. So we kind of changed it at the last minute on the metallic day, and we ended up painting those 3 storefronts just with solid white epoxy. Mm. Anyways, once we did the vapor barrier and we did the white primer in those 3 storefronts, it was time to do the metallic coat in the main entryway,
Right.
and in the office area. So on this one, they're going to do 2 shades of blue and white. So we're going to do 3 colors. And it was a little tricky doing 3 colors.
It was.
It was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be.
Because, again, 2 blues, but the white, she wanted it kind of like seams through marble.
She did. She just wanted like a little bit of it here and there. So our system for mixing this stuff was to do 3 gallons of dark blue, 3 gallons of light blue, and I guess we did 3 quarts of white. Mm-hmm. And we had that flowing just nonstop. That's what our mixing guys are bringing us. So we would just dump out each color of blue and then Troy would spread that with the gauge rake, and then we pour a little bit of white into it, and then we hit back over top of it with a roller and kind of swirl it all together.
And meanwhile, we're yelling, more blue,
Yeah.
more light blue, more dark blue, too much light blue, too much dark blue. I mean,
It always seems like such a mess because we're just dumping this stuff all over the place, and we're stirring it around the floor, and we're just hoping that it's going to look good. And that's literally what we're doing. We're like hoping it's going to look good because you don't really know until it does its thing and levels out. So we worked our way through the main entryway, and then we worked our way and did the conference room, and that went really, really smooth. Okay, real quick, I just want to let you know that I'm making online courses that will teach you everything that we do, everything you've seen on this channel, this metallic epoxy system, and everything else. If you want to learn more about how you can learn from us online, it'll be the first link in the description down below. Doing a pearl metallic or a white metallic, it's kind of weird because it doesn't marbleize a lot. You just kind of dump it on the floor and
it's not typically what you see you just don't see movement.
No, you don't. It looks really cool. But you just, same deal. We put it down about 60 square feet a gallon, just dump it on with the gauge rake and back roll it, and it kind of does its thing, and it looked cool, but it was just kind of plain.
It's one of those things where I would recommend, if you have someone that's telling you that that's exactly what they want, it's challenging.
You really, really need to do a demo, like a substantial size demo, if you're trying to do like a white metallic for somebody. So we got the white done, pour the white metallic. That turned out really good, and it's time to put urethane down in the main entry and the conference room. It's hard to roll urethane across a wide room because you're worried about it drying before you get back to where you started. So it was hectic, and we were just hustling, but we got it done. It was all right. The only thing I didn't like about this job was that because we used that water clear hardener on the metallic, so it would give us more flow time, it was too soft to walk on in cleats. So I would have rather have walked across this entire floor,
back rolled it,
and back rolling it that way, but we couldn't do it. So on this one, we just basically had to put the material down. We always draw a W on the floor. Then we even it out as best we can, and then finally we'll go back over it and we will push the roller forward and pick it up as we're moving, and that typically gets all the roll marks out. And this one turned out really good. I didn't see any roll marks on the floor. Turned out really good. So we look at this as kind of a how-to video, but this is our podcast setup. We have a podcast called Hacking Concrete, and we're going to do a podcast about this job. We're going to tell you all the stories about everything that went wrong, about how we dealt with different people in this job. There's a lot of backstory about this one that I think is really interesting. So we'll put a link to that podcast at the end of this video once it's available. But in the meantime, put a link to our most recent podcast. Feel free to go check that out. Thanks for watching. See you next time.